Okay, so part 2 of Act 1, Scene 3, because the camera crashed again. So we're looking at the different possible interpretations of the word fear when Banquo seems to describe Macbeth's reaction to the witches, but we're focusing on the witches, what it says about them. So yes, witches are scary, people who have been afraid. In terms of historical context, the audience believed in them and would have been afraid. That's the simple level. Okay. If we look a bit more deeply about this and we were trying to make a bit more of a complex comment, we could say, what is really scary about the witches is that they prey on human weaknesses and sin. Okay, so greed, lust, sloth, all the rest of it. Part of what's really scary about the witches is not so much that they're going to kill you, because obviously they don't attack the Macbeth and Banquo. They don't, threaten to hurt or kill them. They don't even speak until Macbeth commands them to. But isn't that what's in some ways is far more scary about them, because they prey on what's already there. It's kind of our fault. They make it really easy for Macbeth and for humanity to make the wrong decision. So we could say it's a more subtle, insidious, predatory kind of almost mental attack. Okay, so I'd be thinking about using some of that sort of terminology and phrasing and vocabulary if you were discussing this word. Useful to remember and include in your own annotations. Linked into that is the point that they sound fair. Okay, so we think about the connotations of fair fairly simply, about being good and okay and fine. But that's the point, that even when we hear the witches, okay, and it sounds like they're saying good things, people would know and feel that they were actually preying on them. Okay, and this comes back to the way they speak. Okay, in trochaic tetrameter, a term you should remember from our annotations on Act 1, Scene 1, which makes them sound childlike, sing-song, even though they're saying horrible things. Either they're saying disgusting or dangerous or treasonous things. Okay, so the contrast between what they're saying and doing and how they sound. We can look at these paradoxical, that just means impossible, comments that they make. Okay, so they say to Banquo, lesser than Macbeth and greater. And then they say not so happier, yet much happier. So still paradoxical. What effect does that have? How does Shakespeare write them this way? So makes them seem confusing, doesn't it? Confusing, chaotic, and it adds to that sense. Oh, get the camera angle right. So I said it makes them seem confusing and chaotic, and adds to the sense of tension and foreboding. Okay. And again, if we're looking at how Shakespeare presents the witches and to what degree, so to what extent does Shakespeare present it as being the witch's fault? Just like we said on the previous page, alright, where Macbeth actually demands and commands the witches to speak to him, despite the fact that they have covered their lips to begin with a chappy finger, as Banquo says. He says, "Tell me more." Okay, he says, "Speak, I charge you." So I think those are useful quotes. All right. Again, imperatives. That just means a posh word for command, but it's good to use in your writing. All right. So we can say that, well, the witches do make these prophecies that does spark off Macbeth's ambition, and they do obviously nudge him in the right direction and give him just the right nudge, and they know in that evil way, and they single him out and make a plan and a plot to get him. Perhaps they think and know he's weaker in that way. But they do make sure that they don't speak until they're told to. Yeah? It's sort of that defence in court, isn't it? Well, he told me to do it. He told me to do it. I was only doing what I was told. I was only being commanded what I was told to do. So it's an interesting sort of sub-question to ask whenever you're asked to write about the witches, or Macbeth and his responsibility in that way. Okay, so who's really responsible? Okay. The final bit I would look at in this scene would be this comment that Banquo makes to Macbeth about when sort of questioning whether they kind of been dreaming or have seeing things when they've been talking to the witches. And Banquo says, "Have we eaten on the insane root that takes the reason prisoner?" Now I really like this quote actually. I think it's going to be really useful. So what devices have we got? Yes, we've got an interrogative question. We've got this metaphor about, have we eaten a potion, a poisonous potion, that takes our powers of reason and logic prisoner, hostage. Okay, so we've also got this lovely metaphor. And then we can zoom in on, you can talk about what image that makes. Okay, do your interpretation there. But I think you could zoom in on the connotations of insane and especially reason and prisoner. Right? So insanity, okay, we can think of as kind of, again, it's a deeply mental attack. The witches don't physically do anything, but they plant the seed. The witches don't do anything, just plant the seed of an idea. Okay. And the second part of this metaphor about taking the reason prisoner, okay, I think that's quite interesting because at the time, in historical context, okay, people would say that men were separate from animals and beasts because of the power of reason. So men, power of reason. Okay, and they would have argued that, you know, it was reasonable that you'd have, say, the divine right of kings, and the natural order. So straight away, Shakespeare is indicating that the order is going to be disrupted, okay, and that by submitting to the witches' hints and powers and comments, they're going to disrupt these things, which we've already talked about in class, would have been something that King James was especially interested in, and Shakespeare would be appealing to. All right, so you should put that in your own words here, all right, and start getting used to making those more independent context comments. So that's it for Act 1, Scene 3. Hope that was interesting. I'd really be going through and making flashcards on some of these key quotes that I've commented on, making sure you can remember them, and on the opposite side of the flashcard, having your analysis comments in your own words ready to use for our essay on Thursday. I'll see you in class.